She looked me in the eye and said she loved me. And I believed her. My name's Adam. I'm 28, a software developer in Denver. I'm not flashy, not loud. Just a guy who keeps his head down, works hard, and believes in loyalty. So when I met Liana at a language exchange event downtown, the type where you swap small talk over wine and flashcards, I wasn't looking for anything serious. But she was unforgettable. She said she was from Eastern Europe here on a student visa. Studying design, working part-time. Her English was good, but she liked when I corrected her. Said I made her feel safe. Special. Within 3 months, we were inseparable. She moved in after 6. At the time, it felt fast, but she said her lease was ending and her family, strict, traditional, didn't approve of her living alone. That was the first lie. I'd learn later there was never a lease. She never lived alone. And that family? They weren't strict. They were strategic. Her mother, Irina, was the kind of woman who greeted you with a kiss and an insult in the same breath. Her father barely spoke English, but his eyes scanned me like an inventory. And her younger brother was always studying on a laptop that somehow only ever showed crypto dashboards and fake wire transfer forms. Still, I ignored it. When Liana started hinting about engagement, I was flattered. Then her mother brought up joint assets. Said her daughter needed to feel financially secure if she was going to marry a foreigner. That was the second red flag. But I told myself it was cultural. I even started transferring money into a shared account. Just a few hundred here and there. Nothing huge. Until I checked it one night and saw it had been drained to zero. I asked Liana. She smiled too quickly and said I used it for my school fees. Don't worry, baby. It's all ours. But the deposit timestamp did not match her class schedule. And that's when I knew. Something was very, very wrong. After that night, I started listening more carefully. Not just to what Liana said, but to what she didn't say. Every evening, her family would gather in the living room and speak in their native language. Rapid, quiet, urgent. I didn't understand a word. But I watched their body language, the glances toward me, the sudden stops when I entered the room. Liana would brush it off, say they were talking about her cousin back home. So much drama, she'd say. But her mother would look at me the same way you look at something you've already priced out. A means to an end. So I started learning their language in secret. I didn't tell anyone. Just downloaded apps, watched YouTube clips, memorized phrases. I'd stay up after Liana fell asleep, repeating syllables into my phone at 2 a.m., trying to make sense of the sounds I heard around the house. It wasn't easy. But I'm a developer. Pattern recognition is what I do. After a month, I started catching fragments. Enough to know when I was being talked about. Enough to know Liana wasn't the only one in on it. One night, I heard her brother say my name followed by the word transfer. Her mother replied with something that made him laugh. Liana stayed quiet. That silence said everything. So I made a move of my own. I installed a second phone under the couch where they held their family chats. No video, just audio, voice activated. It only took one night to get what I needed. The next morning, I downloaded the file and listened. And what I heard. It made my blood run cold. The audio file was just over 16 minutes long. It started mid-conversation. Liana's mother was talking fast, her tone clipped and rehearsed. I didn't catch every word, but enough of the structure was familiar by now. I played it back 3 times. On the 4th, I started translating line by line using AI and online tools. Her mother said, we'll move the rest after the engagement party. Once the account is merged. Then Liana, he asked again about the rent. I told him I used it for tuition. He didn't push. Then her brother, laughing, he's clueless. Same as the last one. My breath caught at that line. Same as the last one. There was a last one? Then her mother again, calm and cold, you just have to hold until the papers come. After that, you're legal and we cut. Just like Prague. Just like Toronto. Same plan. I sat there, staring at the screen. My fiancée wasn't just lying to me. Her entire family was running an organized scam, marriage for legal status and money. Rinse. Repeat. It explained everything. Why they insisted we open joint accounts. Why she rushed the engagement. Why they kept bringing up my assets like it was normal dinner talk. They thought I was a ticket. A visa. A wallet with a heartbeat. I called my friend Emma. She's a developer like me, but her mother was from the same country as Liana's family. Fluent. Sharp. Loyal. We'd worked together for years. I sent her the recording without comment. 10 minutes later, she called. Adam, she said, voice low, serious, you're not crazy. I translated it. You need to get out of that house. Now. Emma didn't waste time with small talk. They've done this before, she said. Your fiancé? Her mother? They're not amateurs. There's mention of past husbands, wire transfers, even a lawyer in their home country who handles the cleanup. My chest tightened. Are you sure? I've got timestamps, phrases, context. This isn't vague. They're planning to take you for everything. Once she gets permanent status, she disappears. They all do. Then Emma added, they even have a list of other names. Men. Like you. That's when it hit me. I wasn't special. I was selected. I thanked her and hung up. Then I stood in my apartment, our apartment, and looked around. Everything felt suddenly foreign. The framed photo of us on the wall, the coffee mug she bought that said fiancé, even her scarf on the chair. I didn't react. Just sat down at my desk and opened a spreadsheet. Every account. Every asset. Every contract. They thought I was naive, just a guy in love. What they didn't know was I document everything. Every bank statement, every access log, every chat backup. My whole life is version controlled. Within an hour, I'd printed every joint financial record. I uploaded copies to a cloud drive Emma could access if anything happened. Then I called my uncle. He's a retired cop. Quiet. Disciplined. The kind of man who handles crisis like it's a math problem. I gave him the basics, enough to make him listen. His reply was short. Where are you now? At home. Good. Pack a bag. Leave without a word. I'll handle the rest. I didn't pack much. Just what I could fit in a duffel, laptop, hard drives, passport, and the documents Emma had flagged. Left the ring box in the drawer. No goodbye note. No explanation. Just silence. I waited until Liana left for her yoga class, the one she never broke routine on, then slipped out the back door. Took side streets. Used my secondary phone to call a rideshare under a different name. 20 minutes later, I was across town at my uncle's place. He lived alone, off a quiet road, the kind of neighborhood where nobody asks questions. He handed me a glass of water and sat across from me. Start from the top. I did. Every detail. The recording. The money. The fake school payments. The language I'd secretly learned. Emma's translation. And the phrase that kept echoing in my head. Same as the last one. When I was done, he didn't speak for a long time. Just leaned back and exhaled slow. You understand what this is, right? He asked. It's organized. It's not just about you. I nodded. That's what Emma said. He got up, walked into the next room, and came back with a notepad. We're going to build a file. Dates. Names. Wire transfers. You've got access logs? All of them. He wrote something down and looked up at me. We'll take it to a friend of mine. Federal side. Fraud and immigration. You need to stay quiet. No social media. No texts. As far as they know, you're still coming home tonight. I nodded. Then he added something that chilled me. If they suspect you know, they won't wait for the visa. That night, I slept with one eye open. My uncle's guest room was bare, no photos, no distractions. Just me, my laptop, and a locked door. At 2:14 a.m. I got a text from Liana. Hey, where are you? Thought we were watching that movie tonight. I didn't respond. At 2:20, another one. You okay? Call me please. Then silence. By morning, I had 4 missed calls and a voicemail. Her voice sounded calm, but rehearsed. Hey babe, just checking in. You left your charger here. Let me know if you're staying late at work or something. Love you. Love you. It almost sounded convincing. Almost. I forwarded the message to Emma and deleted it from my phone. Later that day, my uncle took me to meet with his contact, an immigration fraud investigator named Roman. Former Homeland Security, now running a private unit that fed cases up the chain when they stuck. We sat in his office, surrounded by filing cabinets and maps pinned with thumbtacks. Roman listened. Didn't interrupt. Just took notes and nodded. When I showed him the recording and the translated transcript, he leaned back and swore under his breath. This isn't just marriage fraud, he said. It's a ring. These phrases? These codes? They've done this in at least 3 cities I've seen. You're not their first, but you might be the one who brings them down. He asked if I could stall. Make them think nothing's wrong, he said. We need time to build this properly. No confrontation. No dramatic exits. I hesitated. You want me to go back? He looked me dead in the eye. If you're up for it, yeah. We want them comfortable. Talking. Operating. Because once we move, we're not just grabbing Liana. We're going for the entire nest. The plan was simple. Go back in, act normal, gather proof. Emotionally? It was anything but simple. I waited 2 more days before returning. Told Liana I had a project deadline and crashed at a coworker's place to avoid distractions. She bought it or pretended to. When I walked through the front door, she greeted me with a kiss that felt a half-second too late. Her eyes searched mine for something. Guilt? Suspicion? Confirmation? I gave her nothing. I smiled, made coffee, and asked about her classes. She lit up like we were newlyweds again. Over the next few days, I played the part. I complimented her food, sat beside her during Netflix nights, kissed her forehead before bed. But every move I made was calculated. My phone recorded every room I entered. I installed a camouflaged app that captured audio even when the screen was off. Meanwhile, Roman's team worked in the background, tracking financial patterns and cross-referencing known aliases. He said they found a matching surname in 2 marriage scam reports filed years apart, one in Toronto, one in Munich. Same mother. Same playbook. I started gathering physical evidence. Photocopies of her student visa, her appointment cards, including one for an immigration consultant scheduled next week. I made backups of her emails from our shared laptop. Screenshotted group messages between her and her family filled with casual mentions of transfers and exit dates. But the worst moment? One night, I couldn't sleep. I got up for water and heard her whispering in the hallway. I stood in the dark and listened. He's back. Everything's fine. No, he doesn't know. Then a pause. We need to move the rest before he asks again. I stepped silently back to bed before she saw me. That night, I didn't sleep at all. It happened on a Tuesday. I was in the shower when I heard the click, that soft but unmistakable sound of a laptop lid being opened. Mine. By the time I got to the hallway, she was already closing it. She smiled too fast. Hey. I was just looking for those pictures from Aspen. My files weren't labeled Aspen. I didn't react. Just nodded and dried my hair. Inside, I felt the shift. The balance had changed. She was checking on me now. That night, I encrypted my drives. Changed the password to something even I had to write down twice. Moved the most important files to 2 hidden USB sticks and kept one on me at all times. The other went into a taped envelope behind a ceiling vent in my uncle's garage. I told Roman. She's onto you, he said. You've got maybe a week before they bolt. Then he told me what they'd found. 2 other men, different states, same pattern. One even filed a complaint, but the case went nowhere when the girl disappeared before the court date. No forwarding address. No trace. The scam was airtight. Except now we had time-stamped audio, financial data, matching identities, and me, a willing witness with everything documented. Roman said it was enough to go federal. Homeland Security would take it. But they needed one more piece, the network. We want whoever's moving the documents, he said. Visas, IDs, transfers, these aren't done in living rooms. They've got a fixer. And that fixer was coming to our house next Thursday. Why? Because Liana thought she was marrying me in 6 weeks. The next step of the plan involved paperwork and a signature. The papers came in a yellow envelope. No return address. Liana slid it across the table like it was a surprise birthday card. Baby, she said, it's just immigration stuff. Routine. It'll make everything smoother after the wedding. My name was already printed. Signature block waiting. I flipped through the documents like I didn't understand what I was seeing. Form I-130. Adjustment of status. Beneficiary sections already filled out. Even a shared residence claim using the apartment lease I never signed. But I recognized the real signature, the fixer. Roman confirmed it later, a known fraud specialist tied to 3 green card scams in Chicago, 1 in Atlanta. Get her to talk about him, Roman said. Get anything. A name. A location. A voice. That night, I planted another phone in the bedroom, this time with a live upload. And I waited. 2 nights later, she made the call. She thought I was asleep, headphones on. But I heard every word. Yes, he'll sign. I'll get him to do it this weekend. He still thinks I'm transferring school credits. A pause. No, he hasn't seen the other forms. Just send the notary. He's soft. He won't ask questions. Then, a name. Mikhail. The voice on the other end replied, too faint to ID, but enough to track the number. Roman's team was already waiting with a pen register and burner trace. That was the last piece. By morning, we had enough to move. But I wasn't done. Not yet. Because I wasn't going to disappear quietly. They wanted a wedding. I was going to give them one. Just not the ending they planned. They picked the date, April 22nd. Small ceremony, Liana said. Just close family and friends from home. I smiled and nodded. Said it sounded perfect. In the background, Roman coordinated with federal agents. They were building timelines, identifying co-conspirators, digging into financials. The fixer, Mikhail, was already on 2 watch lists. The moment he stepped into the country, they'd be ready. I had one job left. Control the setting. So I offered to host the ceremony at a friend's property. Something quiet, remote, just outside Denver with great mountain views. Liana loved it. What she didn't know, the house belonged to my cousin, an off-duty deputy with a hidden surveillance setup used for training drills. Every inch of it was wired for audio and video. Emma helped design the decoy event page. Invitations were emailed out to Liana's family and a few names we traced in their group chats, all tagged for location tracking. We ordered catering. Chairs. A fake minister, actually a federal translator with recording clearance. The night before the event, I watched Liana steam her white dress in the mirror. She looked calm, confident, like someone who thought she'd won. She came up behind me, wrapped her arms around my chest. "Tomorrow, we start our life together," she whispered. I smiled and said, "Yeah, together." At 11:03 a.m., they started arriving. By 11:27, every guest was in place, and so were the agents, parked up the hill. I stood at the makeshift altar, hands folded. When Liana walked out in white, I didn't feel regret. I felt ready, because in 5 minutes she'd find out this wasn't a wedding. It was a sting. She walked down the aisle like she rehearsed it 1,000 times. Smiling, poised, delicate, in a white dress she didn't deserve to wear. I stood still. Let her come to me. The fake minister welcomed everyone, flipping open a folder that looked like vows but was actually a federal affidavit. He played it cool. Liana reached for my hand. That's when the agents started moving in. 2 vans. Quiet approach. No sirens. Roman had timed it to the second. Right as the minister said, "Do you take this man?" the front gate opened and 2 plainclothes officers stepped onto the lawn. One of them said her name. "Liana Stoicheva. Homeland Security. We need to speak with you." Everything stopped. Her eyes flicked to mine. "What is this?" she hissed. I didn't blink. "A wedding, remember?" The agents moved fast. Her mother was pulled aside, her brother restrained when he tried to run. One of the male guests shoved a chair. They tackled him before he made it 3 steps. Documents were collected from bags. Phones confiscated. IDs scanned. The entire operation, from arrest to extraction, took less than 10 minutes. No screaming. Just disbelief. Liana turned to me, her voice shaking. "You set me up?" I leaned in. "No," I said. "You set yourself up. I just made sure someone was watching." They cuffed her in front of me. She didn't cry. Didn't scream. She just looked at me like she finally saw who I was, not a mark. A mirror. By the time the vans pulled away, half of her family was in custody. The other half? Tagged, flagged, or under investigation. Roman called it a clean sweep. Liana's phone alone held over 1,400 messages connected to the scam. Audio logs, instructions from overseas handlers, templates for marriage fraud, even lists of American names with dollar estimates next to them. Mine was on the list. Marked, stable, loyal, high income, easy. What they didn't account for was documentation. I had over 300 files, account statements, messages, audio translations, passport scans, and notarized affidavits. I didn't just accuse them, I proved them. 2 weeks later, I sat with a federal prosecutor. They'd filed charges under conspiracy, wire fraud, and immigration fraud statutes. RICO was even on the table. And Liana? She wasn't just facing deportation. She was looking at hard time because of how deep she was in the coordination. The fixer, Mikhail, was arrested at a regional airport 48 hours after the wedding. Tried to flee using a forged diplomatic clearance. Didn't work. And Emma? She testified. Cool, sharp, exact. My uncle sat beside me in court the day Liana was arraigned. When her charges were read out loud, she didn't even look at me. She looked at the floor. For once, there was nothing left to say. But the best part? I didn't burn anything down. I didn't throw a punch. I didn't scream. I didn't fall apart. I just listened, documented, waited. And when the time came, I handed over the truth. 3 days after the arraignment, I got a call from an unknown number. Didn't answer. Voicemail buzzed a minute later. It was Liana's voice. Calm, polished, like she hadn't just been arrested in front of her entire operation. "Adam, I don't know what you think you heard, but this wasn't what you think. I loved you. Please, let's talk." Then quieter, almost pleading, "You don't have to do this." She was still playing the part. Even behind bars, she thought charm could rewrite truth. I saved the message, forwarded it to Roman, then deleted the number. By the end of that week, indictments were filed across 3 states. Her mother, charged with orchestrating a transnational marriage fraud ring. Her brother, identity theft, wire fraud, conspiracy. Mikhail, the fixer, unlawful entry, forgery, and racketeering. The case made national news for about a week, buried under politics and scandals, but it was enough to draw the attention of foreign governments. Half of their local connections got swept up in raids. Emma and I watched it unfold from the sidelines. She was the one person who saw the trap and didn't flinch. The friend who translated deception into plain English. I owed her more than I could say, but she never wanted credit. "You trusted your gut," she said once. "Most people don't." When Liana's trial began, I didn't attend. I didn't need to. I'd already won the only thing that mattered. Freedom. Not the dramatic kind you see in movies, but the quiet kind. The kind where you wake up, look around, and know every move was yours. Every decision was deliberate. Liana sent one final letter through her lawyer. A full-page apology, handwritten, signed with a name that now felt fake. I didn't open it, just handed it to Roman for the evidence file. Let the prosecutors read it. I had no interest in her version of the story, because I knew the truth, and I still had the flash drive to prove it.